This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. You know, one of the most fun things about being online and talking about the Browns is that you get to talk about the Browns and hear takes about the Browns from a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different people who root for the team in different places. I've met Browns fans who watch internationally, and that's always a fun perspective to get, especially when you're talking about why they want to cheer for the team. Basically, you get a diversity of opinion online, and you hear a lot of takes. And that's the great thing about talking about sports online. The bad thing about talking about sports online is you run into a lot of people who think they're the smartest guy to ever have talked sports. And these people, no disrespect to them, they usually have like two takes that drive me crazy, that they think are so smart, so galaxy brained. But if you really just look at it for more than 5 seconds, the take's always just incredibly stupid. I've talked about it before, tanking. I think tanking's one of those ideas. It's the dumbest thing that I think a lot of smart people believe in is tanking, right? Like there's a lot of like bad ideas that smart people call out routinely on sports Twitter, but tanking is one of those bad ideas that smart people will endorse, and I don't get it. It's such a bad idea. Like, and then people write off the folks that don't like to tank as if we're just being emotional, but it's really a factual argument. Tanking has not worked ever. And dynasties aren't built from tanking. That's just true. Like there's just not any evidence there that tanking is this galaxy brain strategy. Now, adjacent to tanking is another brand of opinion that I find to be in the worst of opinions that you can have on sports, which is, hey, we have a once in a lifetime type player. We should trade that guy for a couple first-round picks. That take is profoundly stupid. I'll explain why I think that take is profoundly stupid, because some of y'all might have this take in the audience. And I'm not saying you're stupid if you have this take, but I am saying this take, not as smart as it sounds on the surface. And you know what brought this up in my mind? This freaking thing, right? This is Bart Scott talking to Mike Tannenbaum, and it's one of these stupid "who says no" tweets, but now on television, right? We've all seen the "who says no" tweet, and it's like we get 45 draft picks, and then the other team gets Jerome Ford, right? Like it's always something dumb like that. So it's a "who says no" tweet on national TV. Great to know that that's happening. But Mike Tannenbaum proposes that the Browns trade Myles Garrett to the Detroit Lions for 3 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and Jahmyr Gibbs. And some of y'all might hear that and be like, well, that's not a bad draft haul. You get 3 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and Jahmyr Gibbs. And you might be for it upon initially hearing it. And I don't think that's a stupid place to be in, right? I don't think you're stupid if you hear that and you initially think, without thinking about it that much, that makes sense. But let's walk through why trading Myles Garrett is just a bad idea. 1, okay, 3 first-round picks sounds good on the surface. Sounds great. Sounds like a lot. A lot of people might be thinking, hey, we got to recover from not having first-round picks with Deshaun Watson, picking up 3 first-round picks. It makes sense, Quincy. And all it's going to cost you is arguably the greatest defensive player to ever play in your franchise history. And this is where it starts to fall apart, right? Because yes, you could get 3 first-round picks, but also think about what you're doing. You're trading Myles Garrett to a team that's 6-2. So like that team's not gonna lose a lot of games, right? This isn't like basketball where like the Detroit Lions are offering you pick swaps with like Utah or something like that. So trading with them, you might get like the first pick in the draft via the lottery or something like that, right? Like these aren't lottery picks that you're getting. These are late first round picks that you're getting for Myles Garrett. So if the Lions stay on this trajectory, we're talking about getting maybe the 25th, 27th, 28th pick 3 times in exchange for Myles Garrett. Let me tell you something. You don't find very many Myles Garretts in the back half of a draft. You just don't. It's not really going to get down. And maybe you could say, well, they found TJ Watt in the back half of the draft, and that's correct. But you don't find very many TJ Watts in the back half of the draft either. You find a lot of like Derek Barnett's. You find a lot of Nate Orchards in the back of the first round. You get what I'm saying? You find a lot of Barkevius Mingos in the back of the first round. Like that's what you get, right? Arden Key. That's what you get at the back end of the first round. Every once in a while, you get a DeMarcus Ware that pops up in an incredible draft or a TJ Watt. But the odds are the 3 years you had that back of the first round pick, you're probably not going to end up with anybody who's even equivalent to Myles Garrett. So, yeah, you trade Myles Garrett. Yeah, you get 3 first-round picks. But where are those first-round picks going to be? The Detroit Lions went to the NFC Championship game last year, and they're one of the top seeds in the NFC right now, and they show no signs of slowing down. So the next 3 years, it's not like you're getting the number 1 overall pick. Now, the only trade that would ever be worth it for Myles Garrett is if you could guarantee that for whatever reason, the team would trade you 3 first-round picks, but not just 3 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks that are in the top 3 of the draft. And even then, I'll be like, I don't know if I want it if it's not going to be number 1. This isn't the NBA where teams just be trading draft rights all willy-nilly, right? So you could end up with like a team that's going to give you some pretty premium picks while being a good team and letting go of a good player. This is not that in the NFL. There's no draft lottery in the NFL. So if you get like if the Lions have an off year and they don't make the playoffs, it doesn't mean that you have a chance to get the number 1 overall pick. It just means you're going to get the 20th pick in the draft. It's not a good idea. And sometimes I think people get draft brain. And draft brain, to me, is a disease that hits a otherwise logical sports fan. And it affects their ability to understand the value of players on the roster. Because when you get draft brain, you think that first round pick could be anybody, right? You think that first round pick can be somebody who could be transformative. You think that first round pick is going to give you a chance to get somebody who could change the franchise, somebody who you can argue might be the best defensive player to ever. Oh, no, never mind. That's Myles Garrett. But you can fool yourself into thinking, oh, but with 3 first round picks, I can get more talent than one of the greatest defensive ends to have played in his era. You can fool yourself into thinking that. But you know what the reality is of getting 3 first-round picks is? It's usually less spectacular than what the dream is, right? Because you think about those 3 first-round picks and you think you're about to get 3 of the best players in NFL history with them 3 first-round picks. But usually you draft a player who probably doesn't work out. You draft a player who's probably going to be pretty good. And then you draft a player that you might give a 5th-year extension to. Like, think about it like this. Would you be furious if the Browns traded Myles Garrett and they got like Greg Newsome, JOK, they got like Greg Newsome, Jabril Peppers, and Jed Wills out of those 3 first-round picks? And let me tell you something. If you get 3 players of that quality in the first round with 3 first-round picks, you're probably doing well. We overestimate how much the draft can change things for a team or how frequent a draft can change things for a team. We overestimate it so much. We think that third round picks should be first round picks. Like, we have gotten draft brain as a sports society. And the fact that people are willing to routinely entertain trading the best defensive player in franchise history for a bunch of draft picks is peak draft brain. Peak draft brain. It's all draft brain. Because what's the hope that you could do with those 3 first-round draft picks? You hope you could get a once-in-a-generation player like Myles Garrett. So why would you trade him when you got him? He's Myles Garrett. You don't trade dudes like that. Did Ray Lewis ever get traded from the Ravens? Did Ed Reed ever get traded from the Ravens? Like, why would you trade a player that's synonymous with your team, that good on your team? For what? He has no desire to play outside of Cleveland. He has made it clear that he wants to retire as a Cleveland Brown. So this isn't something where you worried about getting him to a contract or something like that. He clearly has indicated he wants to sign an extension. So what is the point in trading one of the best defensive players to ever play for you all time? To get some draft picks? So you could draft somebody as good as Myles Garrett? Hopefully, if you get super duper lucky. Again, we're talking about getting picks at the back of the first round. There's not a single trade that exists that justifies trading Myles Garrett. It doesn't matter if a team is willing to take Deshaun Watson's contract in full in exchange for Myles Garrett. It's not going to be worth it. Because there are ways to work around Deshaun Watson's contract if you're the Cleveland Browns. There are ways to work around not having 3 first-round picks in the last few years if you're the Cleveland Browns. And none of that requires you getting rid of Myles Garrett. Trading Myles Garrett is something that sounds good on the internet, but if you actually did it, you would be called the biggest idiot of all time. Because you don't trade dudes like Myles Garrett. I know somebody's going to bring up the Herschel Walker trade. Dude, Myles Garrett is so much better at his position than Herschel Walker ever was. Like it's not even a comparison. You don't do it. You don't trade a player like Myles. We literally, in the city of Cleveland, have prayed for a player to be as good as Myles Garrett on the defensive side for years. And some of y'all want to trade him. And think about it like this. Did the Browns ever trade Joe Thomas? No. You don't trade players like that for draft picks. It's not a good idea. So that's my piece. I think trading Myles Garrett is always a bad idea. I'm always going to say it's a bad idea. And look, if you think trading Myles Garrett is a good idea, I don't think ill of you as a person, but I will say I think that opinion is bad. It's a bad opinion. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day.